Now let's move on to implementing the solution. First, I opened up Claude AI and explained the problem in simple terms. I also mentioned that I'm working with a Django app to give it some context. The final prompt I gave in the chat is that I wanted to use Celery. And what you're seeing now is the code that Claude generated for me based on that. I went with Celery because I've used it before and I think it's the best choice for what I'm trying to achieve in this Python project. The next stage is to start the installation of Celery. Before we can get Celery up and running, we need to set up a message broker. For this tutorial, I'll be using RabbitMQ. Why RabbitMQ? Celery needs a system to send and receive messages, kind of like a post office. RabbitMQ is a reliable, production-ready message broker that works great with Celery. To install RabbitMQ, I headed over to the official website and looked up the instructions for my operating system, which in my case is Ubuntu 24.04. They provided a shell script to automate the installation, so instead of doing everything manually, I'm just going to run that script. Okay, it handles all the setup for you, super quick and easy. Once RabbitMQ is installed and running, we'll be ready to connect it to Celery and move on to the next step. Right, that worked. I've installed RabbitMQ on my system now, and basically after RabbitMQ installs, you need to do this, just do these commands, but obviously instead of my user, do whatever, blah blah blah, and then a proper password and maybe a proper host and maybe a proper tag. So I've done that behind the scenes. So let's have a look. What's the next steps? Okay, just a pip install Celery, right? Okay, so we go into here, right? So we're inside my virtual environment. So pip install Celery. Awesome stuff. Now that Celery is installed, let's hook it up to our Django project. To do this, I followed the official Celery docs, specifically the first steps with Django section. It covers exactly how to integrate Celery with Django, where to put your config, how to define the app, and how to make sure it loads when Django starts. Okay, going through the documentation, the first stage is to make a Python file called celery.py. Right. Okay, let's see. Next up, we'll use the Django ORM/cache as a results backend. So basically, when you have a task that's been completed, so this processing a file, you kind of want to know if it runs successfully or not. So for this, we'll just use a relational database, which is what this does. We'll just follow the instructions for this. Right, next up we've got to do all the settings for this Celery stuff. So, right, here are the changes I made to the settings.py file. First of all, I added Django Celery results to the installed apps so we can store task results in the database. Then I added 3 Celery settings. Celery broker URL to connect to RabbitMQ, Celery results backend to store task results, and Celery time zone to match Django's time zone. Next up, I changed the celery.py file, which launches the Celery app instance. I just changed some of the boilerplate code to match my project settings. Now to start the Celery worker, we run this command in the terminal. Celery-a MCQ generator worker-l info. Celery is the command line tool. -a MCQ generator tells Celery to use the Django project named MCQ generator. Worker starts a worker process that will handle background tasks, and -l info sets the login level to info so we can see what Celery is doing in real time. Once you run this command, your Celery worker is live and ready to start processing tasks in development.